Social emotional learning is what we use to help young people in developing their emotional intelligence skills. And so emotions are really part of everything. And so a lot of times when we're not emotionally intelligent or we don't have this intelligence, we really don't know how we show up emotionally in our social interactions or how other people, react to us. That's on a social level. On a personal level, we really don't know what is triggering our emotions. We don't know why we react the way we do or why we respond the way we do. And so I think it's important to just have a framework for that too. Or, number one, before the framework is to understand what emotions are and how they impact the mind, body, and behavior. And so one of the things that I didn't know a few years back that really helped me out a lot is to understand that emotions precede feelings and feelings precede behavior. And so when I got that piece of knowledge, I realized that I don't have to respond or react to every single emotion I'm experiencing, like anger, right? Like anxiety. There's nothing wrong with experiencing these things, but you have to find a way out of them, how to conquer them. And so I think that all educators and all students need to be able to, at any given moment, in any type of situation, in an accurate manner, identify what emotion or range of emotions they're experiencing at that time, and then finding strategies for restoring peace. Because we never really do our best work or be at our best if we're not at peace. And so you'll find, people that we call it, getting in the zone when they are doing something that they really love and they can do it for hours and hours and hours and they're so into it and they have a beautiful experience. Well, in that moment, right, you're experiencing joy. That's a happy emotion. How do we, get there? And you can't zen out, 24/7. It doesn't work that way. But you need to have a system, an algorithm for solving or looping back into the emotions of the day and then finding a way to restore peace.
How do you recommend educators learn more about SEL and how to help kids and whatnot? So, like, I've gone through therapy for many years. That has helped me to understand how to address like issues that I was having in my mind, but I don't necessarily know how to help kids who are going through things that I haven't been through. So, like, my wife is a trained therapist and is like really good at working with kids, but I don't have the understanding that she does. So, like, how did you learn about SEL, or how might you recommend others learn about it?
Yeah, so I wrote an article. It's called Three Steps Educators Can Take to Better Manage Emotions. And so here I share my story. And so I have a couple of teenagers. And honestly, I didn't know that I wasn't emotionally intelligent. I didn't know this a few years back. I was living through life, doing the best I can, and, and that's it. And I have a couple of teenagers. And as they got older, they started to pay me no, never mind. Right. Anytime I would say or do something that they don't like, they would just be like, you know what, whatever, I'm tuning me out. And so as a parent, that's pretty painful. It's not a good feeling. And so I knew that I had something I had to work on, but I wasn't sure what. And so there's a great quote by Lao Tzu: when the student is ready, the master appears. And so a few days later or a week later, not sure, I was reading an article on making first impressions by Dr. Travis Bradbury. And in the article, he talked about his book that he co-wrote with Gene Greaves titled Emotional Intelligence 2.0. I got the book on Audible. And well, when I read its title, Emotional Intelligence, it just jumped out at me. And you're a music guy. So you know that someone that is a creator, certain things jump out at them that don't for regular people. And so I got the book on Audible and it came with an appraisal. And the appraisal said that I got a 76 in my social competence. It pinpointed exactly where I was at. Okay. And Talent Smart is the organization that produced this book. And so they have a framework or four domains is social competence for relationship skills, and self awareness for self management skills. It's something like that. And so I just started there. In the article, though, I broke down what emotions are. In psychology, they say that the first step is labeling or identifying, right? And so after knowing what emotions are, and so I like Plutchik's Wheel of Emotions because it really shows the range of emotions, but it focuses on 8 basic ones: anger, anticipation, joy, trust, fear, surprise, sadness, and disgust. And so when you have a tool like that, and you're like, okay, so the emotions I feel or I experience on a daily basis are an amalgamation of those 8 main ones in tandem with other ones on the wheel, then labeling is not a problem. Once you've labeled, then you can find, strategies. It could be breathing, like one really great one is just to interrupt thinking. If you focus on breathing, you can't really, think at that moment. And so it's 3 simple breaths, right? And so that right there, it causes a pattern interrupt and allows you to see or to feel things in a more logical way, which is what we need. In the article, I talk about Dr. James Gross, and he's a researcher and he really has a great framework. It's basically a framework. It's the process model for emotion regulation. And so through practicing a framework like this, you can change how you emotionally respond to, different situations. You see, how we respond to things is conditioning. We can uncondition ourselves with some work. And so that's important. And I've also realized, and becoming trauma informed as a teacher, is that there's emotional trauma, but there's psychological trauma. And so SEL is not meant to replace trauma informed therapy, right? It's not, but we can learn through SEL how to not re traumatize people and how to be more mindful and respectful of what their triggers are, but also helping them in coping. And with coping, that's a step into, therapy and eventually healing. Yeah, like anyone who has ever overcome a traumatic experience knows you need to feel it to heal it. And so that's an important thing.
And I really appreciate the mentioning that it's not like a replacement for therapy, but like thinking of students as humans and teachers as humans and understanding that they are going through a lot potentially, and not just thinking of, oh, well, they did bad on this test. Like, okay, but why? What might be going on that might be impacting that?
Yeah. Honestly, I think SEL or emotional intelligence is more important than everything else. I don't understand how we left that out of the curriculum, but we're here now. And I'm so, so happy that it's something that we can focus on. I was focused on it a few years ago, and I've mastered my emotions, pretty much. Even if I'm nervous or have anxiety, I know how to make them fly or how to make the butterflies, fly in the same direction now. But what I didn't think was that I would be helping other educators with that. I just thought it was a personal issue, something I had to work on. And after COVID, I kind of realized that we're all human, right? And so we're all experiencing emotions. We all had to deal with, difficult ones. And I think it's a duty now to help others. That article I put into the chat, I wrote that in February of 2020. The original link is there, but on Medium, I published it April 8th. And so it was written pre-COVID. And so I thought that that would be all the work I do on SEL or emotional intelligence. I thought that that was it. And I put it out as a story or an article just so that it can help someone, not thinking that I would eventually do more research into the topic along with equity and other, heavy lifts in education, and to write a book about it, which Solution Tree is peer reviewing right now on equity and SEL. And so it'll be out sometime in early 2022. So I'm excited about that, but I never thought I'd be doing this. Never, ever.
This excerpt of the CSK8 podcast is from episode number 108, which is titled Unpacking Various Entry Points into Innovative Teaching with Jorge Valenzuela.